Sir Keir Starmer now wants the public to believe he is deeply, sincerely sorry for handing Peter Mandelson the job of ambassador to the United States. On a visit to Belfast yesterday, the Prime Minister delivered yet another grovelling apology, perhaps his most pathetic attempt so far to contain a scandal entirely of his own making. It came only hours after the release of damning government documents exposing the farcical process, or rather the complete absence of one, behind the appointment of the now thoroughly disgraced Labour grande to one of Britain's most important diplomatic posts. Sir Keir told reporters, "The release of the information shows what was known. That led to further questions being asked. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it was me that made a mistake. And it's me that makes the apology to the victims of Epstein, and I do that." Now, Starmer still doesn't get it. This is not just about saying sorry after the facts are dragged out into the open. No number of rehearsed apologies will make the real questions disappear. Questions about his judgement, his honesty, and whether he deliberately misled the country in order to protect one of Labour's most notorious insiders. That is where the story becomes truly dangerous for a Prime Minister already looking weak, exposed and out of his depth. This scandal is nowhere near over. The central question is now impossible to ignore. Did Starmer mislead public over Mandelson's appointment? Time and time again, the Prime Minister assured MPs that full due process had been followed before Mandelson was handed the Washington role. He repeated that line in the Commons no fewer than 3 times when challenged last year, and again during PMQs when Kemi Badenoch and Sir Ed Davey pressed him on the issue. The trouble for Starmer is that the official papers tell a very different story. Jonathan Powell, the National Security Advisor, raised alarm bells about the reputational risks surrounding Mandelson, warning that the whole thing had been weirdly rushed. According to the Times, Powell's private view was even more damning. One senior official reportedly said, "His view was that Peter is always a disaster and we always end up firing him." Which was quite right too. Mandelson's record was no secret. The due diligence papers laid out his checkered history in black and white, including the fact he was sacked twice by Tony Blair. Sir Philip Barton, the former permanent secretary at the Foreign Office, also expressed serious reservations. He too was ignored. Such was the desperate haste to install Mandelson that he was reportedly granted access to classified Foreign Office briefings, before he had even been properly vetted by the security services. So much for full due process. And that is only part of it. A Cabinet Office document from December 2024 reported listed Mandelson's well-known links to Jeffrey Epstein in stark detail. It noted that Mandelson maintained his friendship with Epstein long after Epstein convicted for child sex offences in 2008. It cited an internal JP Morgan report stating that Mandelson remained in a particular close relationship with Epstein even after the convictions. Starmer was also reportedly made aware claims that Mandelson stayed at Epstein's New York mansion while Epstein was in jail in 2009 on charges relating to soliciting a minor for prostitution, and the contact between the two continued until at least 2024. The warning lights were flashing everywhere, every red flag was in there in plain English, and Starmer still pushed ahead. That alone tells you everything you need to know about this government. Arrogant, entitled, and convinced that rules are for everyone else. No wonder ministers fought so hard to keep the details secret, even hiding behind national security to stop the public learning the truth. In the end, it took pressure from the Conservatives, backed by furious Labour MPs, to force a Commons vote and drag the documents into the light. And there is more to come. More official papers are still due to be released, which means the scandal could run for weeks yet. The obvious suspicion is that Starmer thought the advice he received would stay buried in Whitehall forever. He appears to have bulldozed through warnings, ignored senior officials and forced through his preferred candidate because he believed he could get away with it. So what was it? Did Starmer read the warnings and simply not care, or did he assume he knew better than everyone else? Now, either answer is politically devastating. That is why his endless apologies now ring so hollow. His sudden concern for Epstein's victims looked less like genuine remorse and more like a grubby attempt at self-preservation. Starmer clearly hopes that if he says sorry often enough, the scandal will die and he can limp on in Downing Street. He may yet find that this too was a catastrophic miscalculation. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want more honest political commentary and don't want to miss what's really happening behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments below.